Welcome to Life in the Music Business, a master class with Professor Pooch and your host, BACEFACE.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Life in the Music Business. You know, the reason we started this show is to be able to demystify the music industry for everybody and help you guys learn and grow throughout your musical careers. So, Pooch, how you doing tonight?
Swallowing. Oh, by the way, people see that, I always walk around with this, green stuff, and people say, ew, what's that? In a water bottle. And wherever I go, I take it with me, everything. So sometimes it's in a cup here, but whatever. And people say, what's that? And I just tell them it's pond scum, you know.
It looks like it, but
It's matcha green tea, which also brings up this topic, as you notice I'm not showing the label. When you're making videos, make sure, folks, that you never show labels on things. It gets into hairy things when you reach certain levels, when you have a brand name. And it gets into, I don't know, it's the FCC or something like that. But
yeah, well,
yeah,
nowadays it's you have to either have a sponsorship by them or you have to pay a royalty to that, or if like, for instance, if we were to play somebody else's song on this podcast, then we would have to get their. I mean, if we were to try to monetize it, they would be receiving all the revenue from that.
if we were trying to monetize stuff through this show like that, ASCAP and BMI would be at our door within a day by putting music up. Oh yeah, I mean, what they do, they put so many clubs out of business, small, tiny clubs that are, for original music and stuff like that. And they're going to pounce wherever they can. But the problem is it helps too much the well-known writers than the newbies and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I figured today we would be able to kind of segue into live performances. And actually, Live Nation has just come out and made a statement saying that by the middle of the summer, they should be able to start getting back to live shows and being able to have concert venues open back up. And the place I used to work at, the Fillmore, that'll be open back up, and it'll be all across the nation. So I feel it's super important to bring up, kind of.
Yeah, I wonder, well, from several angles. I wonder, first of all, what the criteria is or will be for letting somebody into the building. Are they going to have to go through some breathalyzer test or, I mean, or whatever they do for COVID and stuff like that? Because even if you've had the shot, you can still be a carrier. You
Yeah,
won't
which
get
is
it,
interesting.
maybe. Yeah, so you got to keep that in mind, folks. It doesn't just disappear that quickly. And yeah, that'll be great if it was, but what's how many people they could allow in? I mean, we're in 2021, and they're just talking about, well, with baseball, they're going to let in so many thousands of people, but it's not the full venue size. It's like 10%, and they might start raising it by the summertime of 2021. We're recording this in the beginning of March 2021. Uh, who knows? Taylor Swift just canceled her whole tour for the year.
Yeah, it's been tough for artists and stuff, but the transition back into all this is going to be a little different than what people are used to from my
What's
perspective on
different?
it. And I think that it'll still be just as good as it ever was. There's just going to be some different things that we have to abide by, like we might be able to be in close quarters, but we might have to wear a mask or something along those lines, or who knows. But there's no way to really to
I will bet that we're going to be told to wear a mask through the end of this year.
yeah.
I'm almost positive. I could have sworn that Fauci or whatever said that, and to plan on it, and I would, it's kind of strange, it would be nice to do without the masks and stuff like that. It's
Of
just,
course.
But this, we ain't going back to the normal that we had, and it's going to take a couple years to get totally back there. And pray there's no other kind of viruses out there
Yeah,
that are.
and the way I look at it is like I'm being optimistic towards it because it almost seemed like we were at a point where we needed a change, So this is kind of like the official reset for everybody that kind of put a lot of things in perspective for us that we never really the things that we took for granted really on a daily basis are now like
Well, I agree with you totally. It to me, I always called it. It's like a wake up call.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm?
It's like, wake up, folks. You're destroying the earth. You're doing this. You're doing that. Whoa. Well, what it is we're killing the habitats
Yeah.
and for civilization or whatever you want to call it. And what's happening is these creatures with diseases are getting closer and closer to the people.
Yeah.
They're being forced out of their habitat. So there's going to be more diseases that are, that's why I mean I take tons of vitamins and drink alkaline water and all that kinds of stuff because who the hell knows what's out there?
Yeah, it's that type of stuff is super helpful, and I can't necessarily blame all the people on Earth, but I will say that a lot of the big businesses have really been just inhabiting all of these different places that these animals are living and just basically tearing it all down for money. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that we necessarily can't control, but in the end, this is, I think, was super necessary for everybody to have a reset to be able to get everything back on track for ourselves.
Now the question remains is are the musicians, singers really ready to go out there when this is about to happen? Now, a lot of the larger venues, and this is what's weird, see, and it's hard how they figured it out, I don't know. But most of the larger the venues, I'm sorry, are booked a year in advance.
Yep.
And, minimum 6 months, but wherever you're going to play, there's things to think about so that you are ready to play when you can play. And matter of fact, one of the things we touched on, and it's hard when you've been in the house too often, but you got to be in good shape. People don't think about, like, let's say you're going to do a 40-minute set or six. Are they really ready to be totally alive and not gasping for breath halfway through the set?
Yeah, people don't realize how physical performing live can be, whether you're any part of the band or whatever your situation is. Uh, just being on stage is just like your adrenaline rushes so much, and it's like such a high that you get gassed out a lot quicker than you normally would. It's almost like you were going on a long sprint, and that's how I kind of see it. It's like an
Oh,
hour long of intense energy.
I've seen some known performers, let's just say that after one song, they were gone. I mean, they just, nobody was on top of them to really be, hey, are you ready to put on this kind of an active show that you want to do? I mean, some of it was almost embarrassing, like people I know that were on like on Soul Train and some of those famous shows and stuff. Oh, yeah, you got to be in shape.
Yeah.
But, there's the physical shape, but then there's the musical shape. And my whole thing is you need to practice together. We're talking, this is pretty generalized because you could be a rapper or you could be a seven-piece rock band, you know? And, but no matter what, you need to be shaped. But the point is of having your material ready, having a show together. It's not just music anymore, it's multimedia. Therefore, you better be entertaining, nowadays, that's for sure. Or at least, I mean, if it's not a jumping around kind of music, you still need that intensity. You need that performance.
Yeah,
Even
and to
if
be
it's,
real, I mean, to be able to connect with people, that's a real reason you're there. I've seen a lot of people. I've seen people in the past perform where they're up there and they're just singing, but they're not connecting with anyone, and it's very, very obvious when everybody else is talking in the crowd. But when somebody is up there and you feel like they're talking to you, it's just captivating. It's an entire experience, and that's kind of what you want to aim for when you're performing live.
By the way, one interesting thing with that, and also in the studio, is that a lot of times you can't communicate the words if you sung the song too often. What happens is that it becomes like rote in your head, and it's like memory, and you're just spouting these words because you know them so well. What I've always done with people, and I recommend before you're going to go on stage and stuff like that, maybe days before and stuff, start reading, look at the lyrics on paper. I make people write them down because there's more, when you're writing with the pen, it's something about it. And write the words to the song. What's happening in the song? Who you talking to? What's happening? And get a picture of the song. You can know a song too well, just like not well enough.
Yeah, and another thing that you can keep in mind too is when you're performing live, typically there's something behind you, whether it's like a white screen and green screen, or something that will be projecting visuals. And you can, when you're performing live, like major venues, like any venue basically owned by Live Nation, they have a front of house guy and a front of house video guy. So you can supply that person, the I think it's called the VJ or VDJ. Is the video guy that's basically doing the visual DJing to all the songs and doing the transitions and stuff like that. If you are prepared and you have all your own videos and different type of GIFs and all different types of videos, you can actually give it to that person beforehand. Say, hey, listen, this is what time I'm on. Here is a USB drive with all my visuals. I would love for you to help me out. And sometimes
That's great. That's great. No, that's great
No.
because it adds to your show.
Yeah, that's what I always used to do. Even if I had to give them an extra $10 just for helping me out, because they don't have to do that.
No,
especially if
well,
you're
the thing
doing that.
is, but they get live, they put on those screens, but it also could be other visuals. I mean, I've seen like Muse, they do these gigantic visuals. If you ever seen the back screens of their live shows,
Yeah.
and it's like, if they're talking about being, taken over by some country, you'll see gigantic Nazi soldiers or whatever. I mean, it's part of your show. If obviously it depends on the style of music and stuff, but
Yes.
you should have something together. And video, look, it's multimedia. The video is very important, and it's something when you have these videos, you could put in these DDPs, the digital download packages, and put some of these videos into there when you're selling your music and stuff like that, and you can get a good sum for that, like packages, like the digital packages we were discussing in one of the previous shows. I forget which one.
Yeah. But I feel like that's a super important thing. I mean, it depends on the genre really, but I come from the EDM background, so I have a lot of different experience when it comes to that. But I've seen major artists like some people may know these people that I'm about to mention, like Excision or Flux Pavilion. Any of these major guys, they have it so timed to the point where like they're DJing on stage, but then the visual guy is also DJing with them with the visuals. So every song transition and everything is so synchronized to the point where it's just like it's like a captivating experience. And then you have the guy with the lights too. It's just like it's off the charts.
Experience, yes. You want to create an experience. And by the way, that whole thing with, with the coordination with the show and the video and this and this, I mean, even if you're a simple band playing in a simple stage in a simple city or whatever, and it's not this big thing, you still want to rehearse the set you're going to do. the way you're going to do it on stage
Yes.
in
Yes.
practice.
Yes.
And you should be timing your show. Record it, videotape it. You could use an iPhone, and videotape it and check it, look at it. Does everybody look alive? I mean, funny part is when I taught this in class, about when you videotape or audio tape yourself on stage or practices or whatever, is how many things you could come up with. I counted up to 25 different things I'm looking for when I'm looking at this thing. You want to take some stabs at what would you be looking for if there was a video of you practicing? What are you going to be looking for?
If there was a video of me practicing, I mean, one is like how you were saying is like how I'm connecting and how I'm actually performing, how I look, the movements that I'm making. Is my mouth open? Is my mouth closed? Is my tongue hanging out? And like how do I look when I'm on stage? And everything that we're kind of talking about now is what I practice all the time. So it's like when I had an hour-long set, right? I would spend at least 3 weeks going through and making sure it was perfect, so that even if my eyes were closed, I was able to fix it or I mean get it right. You know what I mean? So the first thing obviously is like how you look on stage. That would be the first thing I'm looking for.
Okay. I'm also going to be looking for, if let's say there's multiple people, is everybody putting out equally? They got to be taking practice as if they're going to be on stage. Because if you get your practices like you're going to do on stage, you're ready. You're just going to be talking to the audience and you're going to be feeling good and everything because you already know what you know. You have.
Exactly.
But what's important is timing the show. If you got 40 minutes, we were talking about this before. If you got a 40-minute set, for example, okay, just say, you want to make sure, listen to the songs in this set that you've just recorded. Do they make sense together in the order that they're going? For example, I have this rule of the first two songs got to be strong as hell, grab them.
Of course.
And you in between, you want to be able to take people on a little vacation up and down and all around and stuff, and then end really strong so that they're going to want to go out talking about you and spreading the word and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially with that long. My experience is that the beginning, the middle, and the end are some of the most important moments, because it's like in the beginning, or if you come out and you hit them right in the face with the best stuff or the hardest stuff that you have, they're like not the hardest. You don't want to release everything.
You want them alive, something really alive.
You want to wake them up. You want to make sure that they know that you are on stage now. You know what I'm saying? So to pay attention to you, and then you take them down through the journey, and then halfway through you hit them with a bang again, and then you kind of go a little more up and down valleys, and then boom, at the end is like the grand finale. So all of those things are super important, but having the timing down is probably the most important thing ever. I shave it down to seconds and minutes, like to be able to make sure that everything is fitting perfect. And one of the tips I can give you guys based on performance is, if you want to make your set sound like it's cohesive and it's supposed to be together, make sure that your key signatures for your songs work with each other. So there's major, there's minor, and there's different types of modes. But a lot of stuff I play personally is in minor, right? But if I'm gonna just be playing in E minor the whole time, then I'll say, okay, well, I'm gonna play in E minor for 2 songs. Then I'm gonna go to G major, which is the relative, and be able to give the audience a different contrast, but still keep it cohesive musically to be able to make it sound like one piece.
In other words, in English, it's you want to take them for a journey, but you want to make it easy for the ears to follow.
Yeah.
So they're not having to, make them jump a little, give them some strength here and, to jump a little. But yeah, it's controlling it. But even with the timing of the set, you were talking about the timing. You want to make sure if you're given 40 minutes that you want to time your set, and you got to prepare for, like, okay, you're going to say a few words here or a few words there, but you got to time the set. So you don't want to be forced to end a set when you want to play your strongest song there, for them to go out, and you don't have time to do it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's happened to me before, Pooch, where a situation would be like, "Oh, Johnny, you have an hour set, right?" Everybody refers to me as BACEFACE. So BACEFACE, you have an hour set. Cool. I'll show up. Then the major artist will be 30 minutes late. Boom. Now all of my set just got cut down to 30 minutes. And if I wasn't prepared like I always am, there's never one time that I didn't get my show so perfect that it's literally every single transition is so smooth. I was able to cut out different segments because I worked my set every 15 minutes. So it would be like a clump of songs. Those songs are meant to be with each other, and then I would work like that. So instead of having just I'd be like overwhelm myself and go, oh, there's going to be 60 songs in this hour. I'd say, all right, these are just 4 clumps of 15, and be able to work it like that. So if anything were to happen, oh, well, I want to get to the finale quicker. All right, just dump the first 15 minutes, and then we'll just take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. That's great because then you don't have to be surprised all of a sudden up on stage. You go, what am I going to do? Kind of a thing.
Yeah, you got to make sure you have backup plans, and that's the thing. that's really saved my ass, to say the least.
I'm going to give you a funny one. There's this rock band that I knew, very good rock band that played together a lot. And the interesting part was, and a lot of rock bands do this, when they're on stage, they have a set list of songs. In the order. Number 1, we're playing this. Number 2, we go cheat sheets. Sometimes it's on their wrist. Sometimes it's a piece of paper on the floor, and they're looking. What one of the guys did one time, he gave them all the sheets out, but he put all the songs in a different order. In other words, the guitar player got one set of songs, the bass player got another set of songs, different lists and stuff. And except for one spot, something hit me weird. But they pulled it off because, usually the drummer's going to click it off and the timing right away. Oh, and they figured out what was going on. But picture a trick to play on your band members. But that's knowing each other and,
Yeah, that's why some bands they're later on in their career, they find more success because they find that chemistry with each other. But whether you're a solo artist, a rapper, a singer, you working in a band, or you're a DJ, each single person has a role to play, and you have to kind of go with the guidelines towards that and what audience you're playing towards and that type of stuff. Like for the EDM stuff I was doing was kind of like, all right, I'm going to come out there and I'm going to basically rip your head off from whether you like it or not, because I want to captivate you.
Attitude.
Yeah. And here's the funny thing, right? Especially in that type of stuff, the guidance I was always given is, if you're opening, play some more light music, or play some more stuff that's opening to the crowd and that type of stuff. And you know what I've always done is the complete opposite of that.
Hit him over the head.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like, what is the point? Like if I'm getting hired for a gig, right, or I'm playing a show, what is the point of me toning down who I am to please other people? You'll never.
That's fine in the middle of the set. But you want to grab people and say,
yes,
here I am, I'm BACEFACE, and I'm going to hit you.
Yeah, I mean, like for a couple of times, I think it was one of my times in one of the sets I played, my opening song was "Know Your Enemy" by Rage Against the Machine. Like that was the first song, and it was just like, whoa, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? But there's been other times too where I went to do something like that, and I played like heavy, like I always do, and went crazy. and they literally almost pulled me off stage because they were like, this kid is playing way too heavy for right now. But for me, it's like, if you were gonna hire, whether say this is the lineup, right? We have Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Rush back to back, which would never happen, right? But how can you expect, because Rush is the headliner, for Led Zeppelin to come in and play lightly?
No, well, I always believe there is a thing called a time and a place. Now, if you're doing it for a dinner crowd, they wouldn't be hiring you anyway.
Of course.
You know?
I mean, I can do that. I could do that, but
Yeah, but it's not you. I mean, if just pick your
it's
druthers.
just a corporate gig.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Well, sometimes they don't want, it depends on, there's a time and a place. They might want, but they should be talking to you about this. Should all be settled before you walk on the stage. You
Oh,
know,
believe me.
if they have something to say, they should say it in the contract beforehand that we would like you to start out, or just at least talk to you.
Yeah. So I mean, when I'm speaking about this, I'm more talking about like you going up there as the artist and going there and performing. But I've had multiple things happen where one, I go and I'm the person that's opening up for me because I was direct support to the artist, meaning like I was opening up, I was playing right before the headline artist. So the person before me started playing some of the music that I was playing. And I was like, uh-oh. So I had to cut those songs out of my set. So because I knew that I work in increments, I was able to make everything work and it went smoothly. But there's been other times where I work with like major artists like Cruella or Flux Pavilion, and their crew specifically reached out to me and said, hey, listen, we want you on the show, and we looked at your electronic press kit. We think you'll be perfect. We need a list of the songs that you're playing, and here's a list of the songs that you can't play, right?
That makes sense. That
So
makes
that
sense.
you're able to use that as kind of leverage to say, okay, well, this is where I was going with it, but because of this person, I need to do this, and you don't
But,
ever
it,
wanna make,
but there'll be a time and a place where you're the lead performer, and it'll be important for your people to tell their people, look.
yeah,
But that's why a lot of times for these different kinds of, especially on tours, they have the second act that's with them all the time, so they get used to working with each other. That helps too when they're doing tours together and stuff like that.
yeah. But I always feel I always stand for like the freedom of expression. So I mean, obviously there's a time and place for certain things, but if you're hired or like you're going out to perform, like if you don't give it your all, then you'll never be satisfied. You got to leave it all out on the stage, and that's how I do it, and it's helped me tremendously in my career,
You
just
gotta
being
be
able to
you.
go out there, you know?
You gotta be you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that's what drove me crazy when I started out my career, is they were trying to make me into something I wasn't. I wasn't very comfortable, so I was doing a shitty job, in my opinion, and whatever. But no, I understand, man. It's being real. It's just simpler because you can be real over years and years, and you don't want to come across as you're acting. You want to just be real and vulnerable and have fun with it. Get in the mood to the songs. Obviously, play songs that you can feel that are going to fit that kind of audience and stuff. Yeah, I mean it's oh boy. Yeah, and the worst kind of when you're putting a set together, if you listen to the songs, man, if you have too many sad songs, I don't care if you're doing country, there's a limit to how many sad songs. And especially, you got to remember the times, man. People want up stuff right now. They've had enough of the virus for a year to bring them down and around the, kinds of stuff like
Yeah,
that.
the thing I find interesting is that depending on the state and city, there are different regulations. So, like, I've been seeing a lot of EDM people going out to Miami and having no regulations, and it's a packed crowd. It's like it was like a sold out
Oh
show,
boy.
and nobody and there's no issue. So it's like it
Oh
really
my
it's
God.
crazy
Yeah.
nowadays.
Well, you bring up a very important point, and it comes from a bunch of different angles. Yeah, there's certain things called federal, but a lot of things are by state, and they could be things like with the virus, how many people are going to be at a show, but it could also be like what kind of licenses you need to do a music business thing here, or this or that. A lot of states, a lot of people ask me, well, well, does this corporation, blah, 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 I say, and I would always ask, well, what state are you in? Because if it ain't PA, or I know New York and Jersey and Delaware pretty well. I mean, there's 50 states and they got 50 different sets of laws and stuff. A major example we discussed in one show is with a manager is not allowed to also be an agent. And that's law in New York and law in California. You can't be both a manager and an agent. And an agent, you need a license. And by the way, an agent in any state, you need a license. You get an employment agency license and stuff like that. So.
And that's why people say that they want their contract either governed in the laws of New York or the laws of California.
Oh boy, yeah, the good one there. See, this has started wars. I wanted to be out of California. I wanted to be out of New York. See what it is. California has a 7-year law for any personal service contracts. It was put in effect by the film companies. So you couldn't hold on to an actor. They were only allowed to act for that film company, and they couldn't be freelance at all and stuff like that. So and for different other reasons also, but there's a 7-year clause in California. And they'll say, hey, this is 8 years. I should be out of the contract. No, we're going by our New York office laws, where you could be more, you know what I'm saying? So the different states are different things, but my thing is, New York and California are very big in the United States for the entertainment value and stuff. So you better check those states out at least to see what you're going to need, what you can do. I mean, God, what they go through with underage people there, where I can just write something up to cover somebody under 18, but with their parent or guardian sign something. But in New York, man, you got to go through the court systems if you want to be with a record company. And you got to get okayed to do that kind of a thing if you're under 18. And California is the same way.
But let me see here. So a couple other things I feel like are super important for people to have when they're getting ready to perform. Obviously, we talked about the physique, both physically and musically. And then your timing, rehearsing, make sure you're fully rehearsed to the point where you have it down packed so that anything that occurs, you can, shape shift however you have to. But another thing that is super, super important when it comes to live performances is, one, having original songs, and two, playing some songs that people are familiar with. So you don't necessarily have to be going out there playing all cover songs, but if you're getting your name out there and people don't necessarily know you or your music and it's the first time you're exposing them to you, then you need to be able to have a middle ground between that so that the person can sit there and say, oh, well, I never heard this song, I really like it. And then you go into a song that they know and they're like, oh my God, I love how he did this. Then you go back to something else that you wrote, and then you kind of go back and forth to be able to keep everybody engaged with each other instead of just giving them an hour of stuff that they're unfamiliar with completely.
No, and the club owners will love you because people like covering stuff. But my thing is, there is a middle ground here. Because say you want to do original, but the clubs want you to do, all that stuff. You could sneak stuff in, but my thing is, do the cover song the way you would do the cover song. Mm-hmm. So it still sounds like you. You don't want to sound like all of a sudden a different group. You want to take it where you would take it. God, even groups like Pearl Jam and stuff you wouldn't think do covers. But they did it in a way that it sounded like them. It made sense, the way they arranged it and stuff.
Yeah. The way I used to get away with it, believe it or not, is I used to remix the songs that were like popular at the time that I thought would do really well live. So then I would take those songs that people would know and I'd be like, oh, I'd hop on the mic, like, everybody sing this with me. And then I would play the song, and then, like, in EDM, there's a build-up. So that build-up gave me the ability to transition into an original song of mine, but the way that it worked together, it was so cohesive because it's like, one, they get the original, they get the song that they know by hand or by heart, I should say, and then two, I surprise them with something that they never heard, and it's a beautiful marriage between the two. So you could do something like that where it's like, oh, you sing the hook of a song that they know, and then you go into a verse of a song that you wrote that kind of goes together. It's a live performance. So
Yeah, if it works, it works. I'm one of those kinds of people, hey, why not? Give it a shot, see what it sounds like, but do it in practice first.
yeah,
Get at least an idea. And it's because some say, hey, it might work, I might try that out, or no, I ain't gonna work, kind of a thing. By the way, there's so many things to think about with performances. It might take a couple shows to go into, but one of the things that people don't think about, and this fits more with live bands, okay? What they don't think about is the way you end your songs on a recording is not the way you end your songs on stage.
hell no.
Watch, think of the top acts you've ever seen that are groups, okay? You notice the endings are different than they're done on a recording? It, and it's got to make sense. It's got to be a rehearsed kind of ending that makes sense. I mean, I've heard some artists, man, it just, I don't know if they'll ever make it if they stay that way. But what they do is, I mean, they don't even end on time. And there's some artists where they each want to get the last note in, the drum, the bass, drum, boom, it's just like, and well, here's the problem. It's if you don't have an obvious ending, it's very embarrassing for your audience, and you won't get the best applause, and here is why. When they're ready to go, clap, because they know the ending's coming and they clap, but if your ending is da-da, it's just not going, people are not going to know when to clap, and you won't get as big a hand as if the ending, it sounds like an ending.
Yeah, you really, yeah, that's the thing. Is like the difference between the two things is like for me is when on the record, like typically you'll have it'll fade out, right? But when the person's performing that live, they'll have a dead stop. So like, like the hook or whatever, and then that's when everyone's like, ah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You gave them an opportunity.
whatever. Yeah, it's got to work for it. But nowadays, a lot of the songs for the movies and TV and stuff like that, when you give in a recording, you've got to give in a version where it stops dead. But man, I see people are doing 12, 14, 15, 16 different mixes, types of mixes in the final stages of a recording. They'll have the TV, cut where it stops dead. And they might have a live album kind of version where there is an introduction that's more than 7 seconds, which you have to do basically for pop records. And you could do different things on a stage, make it into a show as long as it's interesting. And oh God, and connecting just like you have to be perfect doing the kind of music you do when you go song, 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 song. Well, God, when you're on stage with a band, you better be ready to go song, 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 and not just, just lolling.
Yeah,
Man, you can tell the pros.
dead air or dead silence is
Uh,
never good. So if you're sitting there and you're unsure of yourself, or you let, like the other thing that happens in music a lot, where it's like you build them up, build them up, build them up, where they think that the chorus or the climax is gonna come, and then you just bring them down to nothing. And then
oh,
it
yeah.
goes silent. There's nothing more awkward ever in a performance ever than that. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. It's happened to me early on in my
Oh,
career.
it's getting, the song's got to be, if you there's individual songs and then how they fit in the set, but the individual songs, they better be written strong in the first place, you know. But even if, let's say they're meant to be come down a little for some reason, on stage, it doesn't mean you have to do that way. You could still have it come down and but then build back up or whatever, and take them for another extra loop. They
Or
brought
just
your
cut right to
screen.
the or just cut right to the main body of the song, because the intro may be quiet, and you can't just go from like the climax of the previous song to dead silence of the next song, because it takes 30
Oh,
seconds to get to the drums and the bass and everything together. You kind of just got to skip to the point and get everybody involved, you know?
yeah, and part of it is with live bands, and you see what's happening is they might have different. The guitars, for example, could have different guitars each song because somebody's backstage tuning it for them. Now you don't always have that luxury of giving them this guitar, that guitar, and stuff like that. And uh, yeah, there are things that come up with, you got to do the best you can, but you can't spend a 10 zillion seconds tuning up every song.
Yeah, that's why you need to have a good front man, because that front
And
man.
have a couple good guitars in the back if you're a guitarist, a couple basses, just in case.
Or like I said, even the good. That's why it's important to have a good frontman of the band, because that person can start talking and having conversations, making everybody laugh while you're in the back tuning up your guitar or your bass, or grabbing
That's a
another
good point.
pair of drumsticks because you just broke the other pair.
That's a good point.
You know?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, well, drummers hopefully have enough extras, but guitar strings are a pain and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right on
And
that.
you want to make sure people know who you are. So you want to make sure that you give them your name. You don't want to just get on stage, play, and then get off, especially if you don't have visuals or anything behind you. That's why the visuals are super important, because, like, yeah, I may not necessarily be sitting there telling you who I am every 5 seconds, but my BACEFACE logo is behind me doing 300 backflips with the visuals that I paid somebody to make for me, so that you can see. And then I'm like, oh, I'm BACEFACE, thank you guys so much for your support, blah blah blah, like, sing this next song with me or something, then it all makes sense. But you can't just show up on stage and not let people know who you are. That's like,
Well, yeah, because obviously you've spent the time not just learning what you're going to do, but also putting it together and testing it out. And that's going back to recording. And we only covered two of the things or three of the things, believe it or not, of listening to and watching a recording, and seeing how you look. And you, for example, are going to see these backdrops and things like that when you're looking at the tape, and you're going to see how you move around. And some people, were surprised that they were doing some strange things moving with their body that they didn't know about.
yeah,
It's really important.
yeah,
But people should record every practice, in my opinion, because maybe somebody's playing a clunker that's the wrong note that shouldn't be there. Somebody's out of tune. Like I said, I can come up with 25 different things, but is everybody putting out? Is somebody being too lazy? Is somebody too drunk? Yeah, you got to do it like it's a show so that it's second nature when you go on stage.
super important. Also, don't get, yeah, like Pooch said, don't get too drunk, don't get too high, don't do anything extra that you normally wouldn't do,
You're
because
going to be high anyhow from excitement, you would
yeah,
think.
yeah, no, you
You
would be,
would
believe
think.
me.
Yeah, I mean, what I do, I'll be honest with you, I take like panathine, which is a B vitamin, you know. And if I need more energy, I just drink tea and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be hopped up, and there's just too many funny stories. And well, they're funny. You can laugh about them now about people that were too inebriated or something like that. There's nothing like uh, when I was back in with my rock band, and we were on a high stage, and we're moving around, and in rock, to me, it shouldn't be choreographed. You should just move as you feel, but you still got to be wary of the other people on stage. And I'm going around looking for the bass player, and I don't see him. He had fallen off the 6 foot front
Oh.
of the stage. It was the factory, I think, Electric Factory in Philly, the original one, okay? And suddenly just disappeared, and luckily it was okay, but it was really weird. Yeah, I mean,
Or they're right behind you and you step on them and trip on their cord, or whatever. You got to make sure you guys know where you're at.
oh God, yeah, God, yeah. And the thing is with, I just have this thing. Certain things obviously need to be choreographed. If you're on stage and you have certain background dancers, they got to be choreographed so you don't run into each other. That's obvious. But when you have rockers and rappers or even soulful singers and stuff, the music should just let you go where it takes you. You just go with it. If the music just makes you just feel like at that split second want to jump up and run around. I mean, well, that's what you should do. There are some bands that I've seen that used to drive me crazy because even as a rock band, they were choreographed. And I could point to the person next to me and say, watch it. The lead singer is going to do a loop around and he's going to run up and jump on the drum set and hit the snare. Yeah, and that, I mean, that's too choreographed, man, Just be real. That's me. I'm sorry. It's just who I am. But obviously, if you're having dancers or horn players move in time, depending on style of music or whatever, yeah, certain things need to be choreographed. But a front person really, unless they're doing stuff with the background dancers or something, should just go where it naturally takes them.
Yeah, and I think we could go on for days about this topic. There's so many things that are important in a live performance that matter, especially for the crowd to be receptive to you as the artist, your band, or whoever you might be performing live. I mean, there's many things that play into that, but we covered a handful of things that I think people should.
Oh, quite a few handfuls actually.
Yeah. That should be aware of before going out and participating in a live performance, because it's well, like it or not, people were gonna come back to that. And
well, it's real simple. I wrote this in an older article and it still fits today. If you go on ProfessorPooch.com, top right hand corner, it's called there's free library. Go in the free library. It's an article called "Unsigned Acts and Drawing Fans." And look, people are not going, and this is true years ago and even more so today, people are not going to leave their houses and their electronic toys and everything and spend the money to come out to see an act. If it's just going out to see an act, it's like, hey folks, we're playing it. Man, you gotta make it feel special. And the importance of doing it well on stage is that's how you spread word of mouth, which we've talked about is like the #1 kind of promotion for anybody. It's whether you're trying to sell your productions, BACEFACE, or somebody's trying to sell their this or that or whatever. It's got to do the talking, whatever it is, your show, so that people want to come back again. Because look, what's going to make them go out and put gas in their car and do this and do that and go out if it's not going to be something special? Make it something special that they'll want to come see you again and again, and spread the word to all their friends about, you got to see this artist, it's just really good show,
Yeah, but like I said, we covered a lot of stuff today, but
yeah, I know we're running probably well over time.
Sure.
All right, so I'll just simply put it, and remember to come, visit us on ProfessorPooch.com, and also the Music Biz page for the show, which is /PoochCast. It's one word, POOCHCAST. And I'll simply say, tune in for the next episode, people. Take care and bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Tune in for the next episode.